Gahan for SevereMMA here in SBG Concord. 1 year to the day almost, I think, John, since it opened?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was the 20th, today is about the 12th or something. So yeah, we're about a week out from when I officially opened 12 months ago.
And we've been called in. We saw a couple of different things on Facebook. We know there is an injury prevention seminar in January for, it seems like it's a must for Irish MMA fighters. Could you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, there's really one guy to thank for this, Professor Dan Healy. He's a neurologist in Beaumont Hospital, and he's also a keen MMA fan, and he wants to see it go the right way in Ireland. And he's helped put together this incredible list. I've gotten emails from fighters all over the world that nothing like this has ever been done with such a specific aim for MMA, because you and I as MMA fans and people involved, coaches, fans, spectators, fighters, it's a fantastic sport. Like, you know, we all know there's a lot of stories of how it's helped people change their lives around, but there is also risks with the sport, as there is with all contact sports. But we don't want to put our head in the sand about risks. We want to talk openly, maturely, honestly, frankly about head trauma, and then twisted joints and broken bones and stuff like this that can happen at the highest levels of MMA. And this is a fantastic opportunity. I'm hoping to get it recorded, but I don't have anything set up just yet, so it's kind of be there or don't. But yeah, fantastic opportunity, and it's free. You know, you look at a talk like this anywhere else, you'd be talking easily €1,000. You know, one of the neurologists coming over is flying in from New York just for that particular talk. On top of that, when the UFC heard what we were doing, because they're of course big supporters of getting the message out there, training safely and being aware of the risks, they've offered a VIP package which will be raffled out on the day. Two guys get to go to any UFC they want. They'll be flown there, put in a hotel, meet the fighters, go to the Q&A. They'll be, you know, full on. And that's, again, they don't have to do anything for that, just to show up, get amazing information, and possibly win tickets to go to UFC. And that night then we're hoping to show UFC Sweden in a nearby sports bar. Haven't organised that yet, but we will. And the following day, another free seminar over here with Brad Pickett, and probably Colin Pendra will probably be there, and Paddy Hull and a few other UFC fighters. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend of martial arts for the MMA community in Ireland.
Go back to Dan Healy for a minute. I may be confusing him with something. Is he the guy that did all of the late notice work for Neil Seery in Beaumont Hospital to get him into the UFC? Did his medicals. I also know I think he may be an Irish link with SevereMMA in the UK. He's been sending us a lot of stuff about head trauma and how SevereMMA has actually saved a lot of fighters in the UK, like pulling them out of fights that have bloodborne diseases and different things like that. How influential has he been? As you said, he's just a fan. Yep. Does he not have a vested interest? Is he just coming out of nowhere for this?
He seems to be. I've only met him recently. Owen Roddy knew him better than me, but I only got to meet him recently. And like I said, he's an incredibly busy and powerful man in his area of expertise, neurology. But he's giving so much free time to trying to help MMA standards, safety in MMA grow, not only in Ireland but worldwide. I don't know his exact position in SaveMMA. I don't believe he has one. Maybe he's their advisory role. I'm kind of only getting new to SaveMMA and how it all works as well. But for me, just as a coach, to have someone like that at the end of a phone that I can quiz on things, and he's always been there to help out for things like in Neil Seery's situation. When he got the hurt rib, it was Dan that organised him getting the X-ray and getting checked out. When he got his initial call up, as with Conor, we went to Dan Healy, and he helped us so much in getting all the MRIs done and such that had to be done in order to get your UFC license. So he's been fantastic, and this whole day wouldn't have happened without him, and I'm just incredibly grateful that he's helped do this, and you know, have a part to play in it.
So I also saw something on Facebook. Is it the Irish Pancreation Academy? Is it something that's been set up? I know you're involved in it. Are these guys kind of? I know Dan is the one who's doing a lot of the groundwork, but who's running this? Is it Dan or is it the Irish Pancreation Academy? Yeah,
so it's being run by the Royal Surgeons Neurology Department or something, in association with the IAPA. That's the Irish Amateur Pancreation Association. Now, this has been recently set up with myself, Andy Ryan, Paul Cowser and Dean O'Sullivan. There's also 4 other committee members, but we're the main members, and we're just kind of getting everything together, and then we're going to make a big release, and other clubs are going to be welcome to join. And how it works is the Irish Sports Council is the government's link to sport in Ireland. And then with the Irish Sports Council you have a number of NGBs, national governing bodies. There's one for rugby, there's one for boxing, soccer, all the sports, and there's one for wrestling, Irish Amateur Wrestling Association. Now, underneath wrestling falls all other grappling arts, and pancration, which is MMA in another name, so to speak, maybe on a more amateur level, can fall underneath that umbrella. So I was very lucky that when I approached the Irish Amateur Wrestling Association, they were willing to give us like a subcommittee underneath the IAWA. So we fall under their umbrella, which then reports to the government, you know, the Irish Sports Council. So it's a huge step forward for getting some formal recognition for MMA in the country. At the moment it's called pancration. You know, it is the oldest sport, original Olympic sport, kind of a mixture of striking and grappling. I hope in time as well, coming along to our meeting just in January is the new CEO of the IMAF, the International Mixed MMA Federation, and also the head of the British MMA Federation. And we're going to be talking with them while they're over here. Maybe the IAPA can link in with the International MMA Federation. But in terms of Irish government status, being with the IAWA as part of IAPA underneath the IAWA is actually more formal in their eyes than being part of the International MMA Federation, even though in time that might turn out to be a more solid link. But there's no harm in us having both of them, and at the moment the IAPA is set up, and it's them, the IAPA is helping the neurology people who are running this event to make sure that we can spread out the places fairly, so that any club out there, we specifically want their coaches and the fighters to come along. Right now I've been made aware that it's full, but a lot of clubs haven't had a chance to either book a place or haven't emailed yet. You must email if you want to book a place on this. Can't give you email address right now, but if you follow it on Facebook, you'll see where the link is. But if someone puts an email forward from a club that hasn't sent one in yet, well, there are some clubs out there that have 20 places taken, so we'll take some places off them and give it to them. As far as I'm aware, there's around about 90 MMA clubs in the country, so even with three representatives from each club, we're still going to be able to facilitate them. So any club out there that hasn't emailed or hasn't got a place for at least someone out of their gym, so as to go along and you get the information and hopefully pass it on. Find the event page on Facebook, and email and book a spot. Let them know what club you're part of, whether you're a coach or a fighter. And like I said, we're going to do our best to make it as fair as possible so that as many people as possible can go.
So, a couple of follow-up things on that. First, does that mean since it's now recognised and under the government, there could be maybe future funding available for these athletes?
I very much hope so, but that would be quite a bit down the way. Like, really, step one for me is that we have association with certain guidelines, and that we know if your club is part of this association. So let's say someone's looking to join an MMA club. Well, they can now go and ask, are you part of the IAPA? If they're not, well, then they're going to be kind of guessing what level this person is. But if they are part of it, they'll know a bunch of things right away. They'll know that the club is insured. They'll know that the coaches have done the IAWA coaching courses, so the classes are going to be taught in a safe manner. They'll know that the instructor, any coaches there, have been GARDA vetted. If it's someone bringing a kid to the club, they'll know that the coaches have been they've done child protection courses. They'll know that they're first aid qualified. So there's a bunch of things they'll know there, other than, oh, well, I was at a show and I saw your guy did well. You know, because it's a little bit of a flick of the coin then. Well, are they good, or are they going to go in there and get hurt on the first day? If you do get hurt, is there going to be insurance there? So that's what we want to do first of all, was just get it solid, so that if 5 clubs join, that's great. If 10, if 50, if 90 clubs join, that's fantastic. But we now know that if there was ever something that happened, we can go back and say, well, that gym is actually not a member of the recognised governing body for this, the IAPA. If they are a member of it, and they are recognised, well, then we know that the classes were taught in a safe manner, and like I said, all the other things, they had their certificates, their Garda vetted and child protection courses and insurance is everything in place. So we're trying to get all that at the moment, because at the moment it's a bit of a free-for-all. But get that solid, and then, yes, of course, we'll start looking into opportunities for maybe trying to sponsor athletes, but we're kind of walking before we run.
Does that mean there's going to be, say, as you say, look, there's 90 clubs now in Ireland, let's say 7 of them sign up and are approved and go through the permissions. So Andy Ryan's running Battlezone and someone wants to be matched up in this fight, and it's from one of these clubs that aren't, that haven't gone through the whole procedure. What happens then? Do they let them come in and fight? Is it maybe you should all be a part of this before we can let amateurs fight each other at a safe level so everyone is protected, instead of just throwing guys in? Because with the influx and the rise of MMA, you're seeing more new gyms pop up. It's not 2009 again when 1 or 2 gyms pop up. Gyms are offering MMA classes. I know someone asked you at a talk recently, as a traditional martial arts instructor, how could he transition into becoming a mixed martial arts instructor? So do you think there's a danger of that, and this kind of shows who's the legitimate gyms, who's the legitimate coaches, and let's get these guys to fight each other?
Yeah, maybe. Again, I see that as being something that's probably the end of 2015 before we are even at that road. But right now, the IAPA is for the very amateur level of MMA. We're not really talking about Saturday night fight nights in this. We're hoping that we can do a form of competition on like Sunday afternoons on mats. Maybe a step up from the MMA league, that there'll be headshots, but they'll have head guards and chin guards. If you actually look, there is a format for preparation, and it's actually very cool. It's a nice bridge between MMA league and Saturday night fights, because at the moment I think that's too great a jump. Guys are going from no head contact on a Sunday afternoon to like maybe 400 drunk people screaming at them and ground and pound and stuff. So that's more what we're talking about rather than Saturday night fight nights. And we're certainly not saying that the IAP will have any kind of like policing over what's going on there. That's a promotion. That's a promoter selling tickets for profit. That's different. That might one day fall under safe MMA more so, but the IAPA is more just small local clubs. There's not all that many clubs that have pro fighters. There's very few, and then you have a few more clubs that's actually producing even amateur fighters. But there's a lot of clubs out there where it's just 20, 30 guys, maybe 1 or 2 of them does the MMA league, but they're just training 2 or 3 times a week just for a hobby, and that's great as well. And we want that's who we're kind of looking towards at the moment. Like I said, to get some bit of regulatory in it. I'm a bit of a free-for-all type of person, but I also know that if we want to move this forward, we're going to have to do this. And just to make sure that, like I said, someone that doesn't really know about MMA, and you just see a local MMA has popped up in their place, and you don't really, what do they know the difference between walking into that and walking into a club that's established 10 years? They won't know the difference. But now they can go in and say, first question, well, hey, you guys with the IPA? No, well, okay, well, right away that's alarm bells for you. You know that they're not, they may have very excellent coaches and they may have other things, but they don't have to have it. But if they're part of the IAPA, they have to have it. Now you've got that far. Okay, now let's start training. Now you start training, and in a couple of years' time, you want to take a fight on a Saturday night. That's a couple of years' time. But we're just talking about getting the foundation correct. One
final thing. Let's say I'm an Irish amateur fighter. I'm watching this interview. I want to know more about it. All I've heard so far is Dan Healy, urology. It's going to be a full-day event. What am I going to learn about? What am I going to learn to protect myself and be aware of?
Yep, there's a number of talks over the day, and like over the years, there is the same things to pop up. The brain stuff is going to be fascinating, because he's also doing he's going to be using a scan of Connor's brain actually, and he's going to be talking about during a fight which parts of the brain are used for what. Just like as an education thing, I'm really looking forward to that. And then of course we have people coming over to talk about the dangers of taking too many headshots, and I want to talk a little bit as well about just safe sparring practices. I mean, some of you guys have been recording some of our sparring, and you see, head guards are on, contact to the head is at a lighter level. You can go a little bit harder to the body, but certainly I've visited some places where guys are in very small gloves, no head guard, and hitting each other very hard. And really the damage on most fighters is done in training rather than in fighting. So I want to talk a bit about that. And then as well, young fighters out there, they're going to be dealing with like twisting their shoulders and maybe getting in, knee problems, and they're going to spend a lot of money going to different people to get advice. Well, now they're going to be to go to the best guy, right away to the best guy for free. Listen to us talk about what the most common injuries are, and that's what they're going to be facing, and how to prevent them and how to treat them. So it's going to be, like I said, they're going to walk out like a mini doctor, because they'll have a solid working knowledge of what happens to the body, both in the lead up to a fight and during a fight. So that's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to that. On the day as well, we'll talk a little bit more about what SevereMMA is about. No, I'm not part of SevereMMA, but Aisling Daly will be talking about SevereMMA and what that means for Saturday night shows, those kind of things, whether it's mostly amateur at the moment in Ireland, but there is some pro shows as well, and why SevereMMA should be brought in. For me, myself, I don't really want to put fighters anymore on shows that are not with SevereMMA. I have no connection with SevereMMA, but I know if a show is run by SevereMMA, I know that the medical staff are at a very high standard. It's not two St. John's ambulance guys that haven't a clue what to do in a serious situation, but it's very good doctors and very good medical backup. I know that all the fighters have had their blood tests done, and there's no dangers with that. I know that you just, for a coach to have all that, my mind at ease, that okay, that's something I don't have to worry about. If something goes wrong, that my fighter's going to be looked after. Now my only worry is coaching and cornering, and that's a relief, because like I said, there's some horror stories out there. I'm sure a lot of people watching this will have seen the video of the young kickboxer, and they didn't have the correct staff there, the correct medical staff. Is it that hard to imagine that happening in an amateur MMA show if they don't have to? No one's making them do it. So promoters are cutting corners. Not all of them. A lot of them are doing as much as required to SevereMMA already, but at least this now is making sure that it is done. It's out of the promoter's hands. He has to have these minimum requirements. But anyway, sorry, that's a separate thing. That's SevereMMA, but you'll hear more about that on the day. I'll be talking a little bit about the IAPA, which again is not really about Saturday night promotion shows. It's about just making sure that the club is run safely and legally, and that when they're going in somewhere, if they're going in blind, well, they know that they'll know a certain baseline of professionalism and safety is within that club. And we'll talk a little bit about that more on the night. There is an IAPA Facebook page being done at the moment. It's not finished yet, but all the information will be on that. And yeah, if anybody's any other questions, that our page, Coach John Kavanagh, they can send me a message direct on that. And yeah, I'm looking forward. It's going to be a great day, and I'm excited. The UFC have sent over Brad Pickett. I know Brad a long time. He's a good talker. He's going to get a little talking. He's a funny guy, and what a great prize as well. Someone has a chance to win. It's got to be worth a couple of grand, that prize. So all in all, I think it's. I've got messages from friends in the States that are saying they've never seen it like this in America, and they're very jealous of what we've been able to put together. Again, it wasn't me; it was Professor Dan Healy. But I'm just very excited to be a small part of it, and I think it's a massive step forward. And I think it's Irish MMA. We're already starting to show what we can do in the world stage of competition, and now we're starting to show what we can do in the world stage of adding a bit of professionalism to mixed martial arts.
Excellent job. We appreciate the time.
Thanks for dropping in.